Lead, Thrive, Voices of Androscoggin, hosted by Shanna Cox, President and CEO of the LA Metro Chamber, and me, your producer, Mark Turcott. This bi-monthly podcast features in-depth conversations with the people shaping Androscoggin County. Each episode dives into personal stories, showcasing the leaders and entrepreneurs behind the region's economic and community vitality. Together, we explore how they build, lead, and thrive while contributing to a better quality of life for all.
Hi, I'm Shanna Cox, and I'm so grateful for our guest today, Peter Flanders. He's an incredible man I've had the fortune of knowing for, as I prepared for this episode, it turns out more than a decade, which is terrifying for me to think about. So I wanted to share with our listeners a little bit more about Peter before we get underway. So he grew up in the historic town of Saratoga Springs, New York, where he was exposed to a city that was rich in culture and architecture, culinary arts, and history. And he witnessed the rebirth of Saratoga, learning to appreciate what that actually means. Through his summers in Maine, he connected to our oceans, but also our heritage and our culture. And he has said that he, quote, stumbled on to Lewiston-Auburn, as so many do, and then moved here in 2006. The sense of heritage, history, and community, and the vision of what it would be after its rebirth is something that you had always wanted to be a part of. His work has always been a passion. He has been a manager in the automotive industry for over 25 years, is the operations manager of the state's largest automotive group, Lee Auto Group. He has, throughout his life, dabbled in real estate, owning, renting, rehabbing. Boy, do I appreciate that as a fellow rehabber, and even getting his license to sell. All of this led Peter to create GFDG, Great Falls Development Group, his real estate development company that has been growing and operating successfully in Lewiston-Auburn for many years, and that has expanded to create Corner Pocket Properties, the commercial arm of GFDG. More recently, they've expanded into the hospitality industry, designing, building, and operating Sonder and Dram, and now Bon Vivant in Lewiston. I love that story. I've been fortunate to be parts of some of the threads in that, and so I'm so grateful for you to be here today. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of the Peter Flanders story, let's start with a little icebreaker. We're trying to figure out if we can sing this or not.
We're going to.
Thanks. Getting to know you.
That's not.
Getting to know all about the way you are.
He's going to leave.
I'm such a Girl Scout.
No, but I'm sure you'll cut that.
You hope.
Don't be so sure.
No, go
We all
for it.
hope.
Our first segment is Getting to Know You, a relaxed, engaging segment where we ask guests fun, personality-revealing questions to help listeners learn about and connect with our guest on a personal level.
What's one local business or community initiative that excites you right now?
The problem with me is that all of them do. And I have that problem. I get excited about anything that I think is positive and anything that I think pushes us in a positive direction. I've been doing a little bit of work with the Lewiston City to change image, change the way we function in our downtown. And so that excites me. For obvious reason, I have business there, and certainly I have personal interests that will benefit from that. But it also excites me just to see things improve. I think COVID and other negative factors that have hit our community, pushed back some of that development in our downtown, and we took a step back in the last few years. And I'd like to see us, leap forward back to where we were 4 or 5 years ago and further. And we had some momentum that I think we lost. And so that stuff excites me. I think I can't get enough of anything positive in the community. And so for me, if I see something that's wrong, I often just say, yes, I'll help. Sure, I'll do that. And it's a disease with me. So
I've been part of that too.
Yeah, I've been learning to filter myself and to edit myself and to look at my capacity in a way that I didn't years ago. Even my bio that you read a moment ago, which was fun to hear someone read it out loud.
2006. Did that jump out to you? Like,
actually,
how was it that long?
What jumped out is that I've worked for Lee Auto this is my 14th year. And in the bio, it says 25 years in the auto industry, and it's now over 35. Just to give you a sense of how much things change and how quickly they change.
I would just say, as somebody who also gets impassioned by multiple projects and is quicker to say yes than no, one of the things that has been hard for me, and I challenge myself and others. And so I'm really excited to hear you putting voice to it too. But when I started to change my thinking about the way, making sure I had enough capacity, not just for the work and the passion projects, but for my family and for myself, is the gift to the passion projects, making sure that you can sustain inside yourself to keep showing up for the things you care about.
Absolutely.
Because for some of us who put ourselves kind of last on the list, then the only way I could think about that differently was being like, the way that's not putting my projects first if I'm not thinking about it. It's the only thing that worked for me, and it's a hard lesson to learn over life.
Yeah, I think that I learned, when I remarried 6 years ago. I lived in Androscoggin County. I lived here in Auburn, and everything my wife did and with her kids was in York County, and we had to meet in the middle in Cumberland County in order to make it all work. It was probably one of the greatest catalysts for me to say, okay, I have to prioritize, I have to think about these things, and I have to. And then what happened after was everything I've done since then has had better results, and I've been able to put a more quality piece of energy into any project that I've taken on. For me, it feels better. It feels better, and it feels more pointed.
Yeah. Lucky for you to have a catalyst to get you there. I think I could use a catalyst to complete that transition.
I'm working on it. It's still a work in progress.
It's like healthy eating, right? You don't wake up and be like, I nailed that. Now I can eat whatever I want.
I'm doing that better too.
To say you're healthy eating, you got to do it every single day. And I think that's really real. What is a surprising skill or talent that you have outside of work?
Oh, I think it's my cooking. I think it has to be. I mean, I don't think anybody expects it.
Surprising that it's so good.
Yeah. My wife will tell you better than I, but it surprised her. It was one of those surprise things in our relationship where there was someone who walked in, and she's a really good cook, and she's a better baker than I am, but when it comes to cooking, I read cookbooks just like I read other books, and then I absorb them, and then I take the concepts rather than the ingredients, and I start applying the concepts, and so for me, that's some of the passion around restaurants and stuff, comes from that. It's I don't really like the term, but I am a foodie, and I do love visiting other places and tasting their foods and experiencing. We very much are in line with one another at home, and so I go home and I cook like mad. So,
what's one dish that would be like maybe the most? You can't say hamburger, right? Like the most surprising skill showing dish that you prepare.
I don't know. It's like favorites for me. I don't have any.
Children,
like I don't
like breakfast,
yeah,
lunch,
I just don't.
like
Yeah,
dinner.
and I don't like. I don't have. I really don't have favorites. Like I don't have a favorite.
Well, it changes with the season,
anything,
right?
And I don't feel that way about anything that I make or do. And it's even hard for me to say to you that I'm a good cook, right? It's not my personality to say I'm good at something. I'm too hard on myself for that typically. So.
Well, then an invitation for your wife and our listeners to look where comments can be made on the LA Metro Chamber social media accounts. And I'd love for her to pipe in with her favorite surprising dish that Peter cooks.
I just open the refrigerator, and what's there is what becomes the meal. And
some of the best meals come from that, and you can't recreate them, which is such a bummer. Yeah, I love that.
Do you have a favorite celebrity chef, or do you watch any of the shows?
I do watch them. Again, I just don't have favorites.
Are you a Gordon Ramsay swear in the kitchen kind of guy?
No. Very mellow.
Barefoot Contessa.
No. I really don't know. That's a hard one. There's so many of them that I respect and enjoy. And
let me rephrase that. If you could hang out with one of them for an entire day, who would you choose?
The ones that drink wine.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I was just going to say, because I just kind of hang out and drink a glass of wine, and then turn on some music and talk with my wife, and it's an experience. It's a
Julia Child. If there was no rules.
Well, Julia Child's awesome.
Could you imagine? Just sitting down and being like, let's open a couple bottles of wine, cook some food.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
just talk.
Yeah,
I would love that opportunity.
Yeah, but there's so many great ones that are fun to watch and fun to learn from. And from a show perspective, I like the Iron Chef. Fascinates me because of the depth of what they do, and a lot of the food. Some of the food it isn't something I would necessarily care for or something. Yeah. But the depth of the work that goes into it, and is the learning experience. I think it's more about the learning experience when I watch that stuff. So.
It's my favorite way that science shows up in my world, right?
Yeah.
This one I'm so excited to ask you because I'm really hoping to take my own notes home. What is your go-to productivity hack when you're feeling overwhelmed?
That's actually easy for me. That's lists. If I feel overwhelmed, I scoop up my many lists and all the things that I'm doing, and I put them in front of me, and I rebuild my lists and reorganize my thoughts, reorganize my priorities. And I make a list every morning, and that's the things that I know I can accomplish in the day. I mean, we all get derailed sometimes, but in my case, those are the things that I know I could accomplish in the day, and that are the highest of priorities. And then I've got reams of paper, and I'm a paper person.
I was going to ask, is it a paper list or a digital list?
And no, it's paper. I still read books. I still read newspapers. I am that human.
Thank you.
I like them, and it's not just the tactile experience. I feel like I absorb differently when I read a book or read a magazine versus reading a tablet. I actually feel there's a difference in the retention and the way I absorb the information. So.
That makes sense. I print the important stuff that I want to read and commit to memory.
I do that
even
too.
when it's in a digital format.
I do that as well.
I love this question. What is your favorite way to spend a weekend in Androscoggin County?
I mean, there's a lot of things I like to do here. I mean, I guess it's one of the beauties of the county, right? There's so many things to do. There's hiking, there's fishing, there's kayaking. I do all those things. There's cooking and eating, and
there's a sweet little restaurant on Lisbon Street called Bon Vivant that I include in my weekends.
And I occasionally will go there myself, although I feel like I put pressure on my staff that's undue when I'm there, so I try to only do it once in a while.
What's that one where the boss gets dressed up and disguised so that he can work with his employees?
Oh, yeah.
Undercover boss.
Yeah, you need to do that just to eat.
Yeah, just to eat.
Just so that they can give you food and not think about it.
I mean, I enjoy my restaurant.
Yeah.
The food's wonderful. The staff's wonderful. I'm a lucky human to.
But you don't get to be a
position.
customer. You're Peter.
Well, I am a customer. I don't, as an owner, I have always treated myself as a customer when I'm there. I ask my staff to not give me anything special or do anything special for me. I've always done that. And I just believe it's the better way, but it doesn't change the fact that they see me a certain way, and so they have that uncomfortable feeling that they're serving the boss. And I've never tried to be a boss in my life.
No.
I tried to be a coworker and
with my own title and role as president and CEO, I have an incredible staff. We have a really amazing culture here, and still you can't. It took me a while actually to learn and really integrate into my leadership style and my approach of building a work culture that. If I flippantly say over my shoulder, oh man, that's driving me crazy, we should tidy that up or reorganize them, magazine, something simple. It's like me saying something to contribute to my to-do list, right? But it's heard the things that we're doing today need to drop because this, and it doesn't. There's no way to unhear that or to have that. Doesn't matter how. And so I've gotten very careful about how I even just observe things out loud because you can't undo that. And
I have the same issue. I'll walk in and say, "Oh, we really should take care of this," and everything drops. Yeah. And everyone goes, "Oh, we screwed up, and we've disappointed him." And
it's not that.
And it's not. No, not at all. Yeah. And I'm a person who shares stuff out loud.
Yeah.
Often.
No, same. I'm an external processor. Sorry.
No. Trust me. I do that at home, and again,
that can unravel quickly.
It really does. It often does. Yeah. My poor wife puts up with me.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I've had that experience. I think for somebody who works for someone else, right? And this is true even I get that I'm the chief executive but I respond to and am overseen by 20 board members. So everybody has their person. But even as I went through my career, I don't think I could ever I remember former bosses saying to me like, no, I don't mean it that way. And me being like, well, how am I supposed to take it? Right.
Yeah. How would I know?
And I don't think someone can understand until they're on the other side and in that role and realize the weight their words carry, even when you have no intention of them carrying any weight. Like any weight.
No, and it's happened to me the opposite direction. And sure, absolutely. And so,
great answers. I love that. I feel like we know you a little bit better. I'm going to ask you some of the questions that I put together thinking about the ways in which I know you, so many conversations that we've had. And this is part of why I was so excited that you said yes to being our first guest. But, you and I have spent a lot of time, just to set the scene for folks. I was working at Fuel, not far down the street from Bon Vivant, same clientele base, I would even say, if they were open at the same time. And I was younger than I am now. But in addition to that, Eric Agrin gave me some really important insights from the lens of hospitality, but really about economic development, about why he had opened a restaurant and why that mattered, and why buying properties on either side of that restaurant, investing in them and developing them mattered, and how that related to the kind of greater image of our region and our communities. And it just imprinted me in really important ways that allowed me to start to pull some of my economic and community development experience and education in together, which I think had always felt kind of separate. And every conversation that you and I have had from the beginning days of Grow LA, which feels like a lifetime ago, have always centered on the convergence of community and economic development and business. And here at the Chamber, those are the three pillars that I focus on, that our staff has strategies around. And so I've just spent years engaging with you on different fronts and you wearing different hats, as owner, as employee, as visionary, as volunteer, and your bio, only skims the surface of all of the ways and all of the initiatives that you've showed up in. So we've talked about all of this before. How is this area unique? Its clientele, its community, its potential. We talked about it in your bio, but take me back to the beginning. What was the potential that you saw here initially? Maybe vision, maybe potential.
No, I've definitely said this to you before. When I came to town, I was looking for work in Maine, and when I came to town, I drove around with a potential employer, and I saw all the bricks. And that's the story I've told you before, and I stick to it. It was one of those things that hit me, and it reminded me a little bit of home. There was a lot of that brickwork in Saratoga, but I saw a community that had hit some hard times. You could see it, you could see it as I drove around, and I saw all the beautiful brick buildings and all the potential and all the space that could really become a place again, and that probably parts of it had not, stayed a place for people and for things, and that stuff excites me. And so it was part of why I said yes to the job I took here. It's really that simple with me. I don't think it's any more complex. From there, I learned that there were lovely people around here. I came to town and didn't know anyone, and just, started hanging out and selling, working for a car dealership, so selling cars and service and all those things. And I got to know people, and then, I really realized that it was just a lovely community. It was, that Central Maine was full of wonderful people, and it didn't surprise me. It was just one of those niceties that hit me. So there's nothing more complex to me.
Yeah.
I find this to be that same lovely place, whether we have hard times or good times, and I still put as much effort into making it an even better place every day if I can.
Yeah. A lot like you, I came here for work. I lived in Mechanic Falls and started working in Lewiston-Auburn. Worked here for 2 years before I moved my family here after our separation. And I've lived in other, larger communities in Maine. I've lived in small communities in Maine. I've lived in Orono, Portland, Westbrook, and the Bangor area. This was the first place I found where doing, contributing, integrating, becoming part of a community, it felt easier than it had in other communities, and it felt like you could actually have an impact here. And there's other places where like volunteering for the thing or showing up at the thing, like I never was left with a sense of certainty that what I was doing would show up, would matter, and I've never, ever hesitated in this area to know that it's important. And I've seen others doing important work. And so, because I know you didn't just sell cars.
Yeah.
So when did it change for you? When were you like...
I met people.
Yeah.
And that's what changed it, So I met my business partners. I mean, honestly, that's the largest impact, I think, in what I'm doing. I met a couple of people, and we were playing pool in my basement and drinking beer, and
as the good stories always
start. How they all start. And after enough pizza and beer, we had an idea. Just two of us had an idea one night or one day that we should start a business and start buying some apartment buildings. And from there, it became, well, why would we do it, and how would we do it, and what was the. And then we decided we would invite some other people to be part of that, because we had day jobs and we knew that we wouldn't have a lot of time to give to it. But so we started inviting people to play more pool and drink more beer and go to my basement and
pool
do
is
these
a gateway
things.
drug.
And yes, exactly. And that's where the name Corner Pocket Properties comes from. So.
Oh,
yeah, it has a double meaning,
wondered.
of course,
right.
but yeah, it's that's where it came from, and it ended up 7 of us. It started out with 8, and one partner dropped out in the first year, but 7 of us formed a partnership and formed an LLC and bought a building together, and then you get to know each other, and the mixture of people was a friend of a friend, a coworker of someone I was dating. It was far-reaching sort of stuff. It wasn't very centric.
Yeah.
But what we found quickly was we brought 7 great people into a room that kept doing business together for about 12-ish years. When we were trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do besides try and make some money at it? I mean, it was. We knew that we would build equity in real estate if we did this right, and we weren't so worried about the day-to-day money because we all had day jobs. We were just worried about how do we improve the buildings, how do we improve the equity over time. And in doing so, it formed a mission that was more about community than it was anything else, where we went, well, what improves equity? Well, improved community improves equity, so why don't we do both at the same time? Let's do it in our building and our mission, but let's see if we can improve the community even just a little bit by each step that we take. And that was a real thing for us. That was the energy behind all the people there. It was a little bit of everybody in the room, a couple of guys in the car business, a real estate broker, a lawyer, a electrical contractor, and a regular contractor, and so we
those are key.
Yeah, we all had good shared vision and a lot of fun together, and really became close friends, and we still are. Since then, in the last handful of years, 3 of us bought out 4 of the partners, and so the group shrunk, but only because families changed and family dynamics changed, and I'm the older, I'm the senior in the group, and some of them were much younger than me, and they were having their first kids and first marriages, and and all those things that get in the way of doing extra business. Yeah. Versus my kids were hitting late teens and now in their 20s, and so it's the opposite for me. I find time that I didn't know I had. Mm-hmm. But that was it was all about people, right? And it was about community, and so. It's layers of development and development of my own company and development of my own stuff. And I've never depended on it. None of us have ever been in a position where we had to depend on it, which allows us the freedom to act differently. There is no doubt that gives us a lot of freedom. We can take on a project that maybe doesn't have the same margin as someone who's looking to pay an entire staff and pay themselves. And maybe we do a project where it cleans up a building that wouldn't otherwise work for someone else. Our second project was really a good example. We picked like the ugliest, most blighted, corner
feel like
project,
I remember when you were
right?
like, "You're not going to believe what I did."
And we did. We just and that's when we really formed a bond and a friendship, because all 7 of us would go there every weekend and almost every night until that building was done. And it was, an unbelievable feat to put it back together. And anybody else, the budget would have been so stupid because you'd have to pay labor to do it.
Yeah.
You would just tear the building down. You would. But yet it had beautiful old bones, and we made it into something. And so you
transformed that property.
Yeah.
I saw the before and afters.
Yeah, and also, we transformed the neighborhood. We talked. We'd stand on the porch late at night, trying to catch our breath from whatever we were doing, and we would, talk to the neighbors. And, they'd be out in the street, and they'd go, "We're so thankful that you're doing this. There's no more bums there. There's no more needles. There's no more, whatever it was, or it was." I can remember one night where we just helped fix somebody's car next door who was trying to get to work, and we had the know-how and had the people there. And so, it's things like that, made us good community members. And we've tried to do everything in our companies that way. And when we expanded out of just real estate and into hospitality, we knew it was, I have a lot of hospitality experience in my family, and so I've been around it my whole life. I certainly talked to you about my cooking. Mm-hmm. We also took on another partner, in that business who has the experience. So we have the experience behind it, but it was it was a leap. It was a leap of faith for community. It was a leap of faith to develop more. Restaurants and anything to do with the arts are what you used in the earliest stages of developing community.
And revitalizing. That's right.
And so we wanted to be part of that. We wanted to help with that. And, so we developed Sonder and Dram. I mean, it was our office for a while. And we,
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
That's way back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I even took a stint where I opened another business that I ended up closing, but in there, which was to open a magazine. As nutty as that sounds, I don't know what I was thinking that day, but that was fun too, and I think that was good for community, and I remember some great days in there, and but we would, of course, our day jobs were our day jobs, and our other job was a night job, so we'd go there and have a couple of beers and talk about business. And so one day it was like, well, this is a great place to drink beer, so why don't we open a bar here?
Why don't we do that for others?
and it's really true. I mean, that was, and we, one of my partners, Rick Roy, and I both had a dream of opening a cocktail bar.
Yeah, because you guys do incredible craft cocktails.
And so, we had that for years before any of this, and he and I were really the initial force in all the companies. But we knew that was a stretch, right? That was a thing that we'd like to do, but we weren't sure if we would ever do it. And we kept going, and opening the restaurant was a little harder, only because of timing. Situations in the community. October last year, of course, and then COVID.
Well,
before
you got
that.
You got hammered by COVID just in the you'd bought it, but you were in the middle of preparing to do kind of the construction stage and in all of that time. And I actually just want to lift up on that because you were talking about, life cycle changes and how folks, you went through different partners and different iterations in part because their lives were changing. And I think one of the hardest things that I've really had to accept is that you can have the greatest idea. You can have the greatest property or their greatest talent and have watched this community go through this cycle, which is painful a couple of times. You cannot control timing, and timing is such a variable factor in success. And there are things that never should have succeeded that hit the right timing.
Correct.
And do incredible. And then there are things that really should do amazing. And because of things that just you would never expect, you can't plan for, you can't. And this happens to, businesses, but it happens in life all the time. And there's something to the complete variable factor of timing that I think a lot of business owners don't give themselves grace to recognize that that's an influencer that is outsized and out of control, that just really does play very real roles.
Yeah, it's been a very negative impact on our business, at least in the hospitality side. Our timing wasn't good, and it hasn't been. But, we remain positive. We're having fun.
Put out great food.
Thank you. We mean to, right? We're putting out a product that we're really proud of. We do our best to support all local product, and really put effort behind, putting out quality product with a quality service, and then it's just a matter of, getting through the negative timing, right, to the other side where things are good, and we expect those times to happen, and it's been challenging with inflation the way it was, and adding that on top of the other things.
Construction cost and product cost.
Those were higher than we expected, and all those things happened to us, but we just remain positive, and we encourage the community to remain positive with us, but also to remain with everyone in their community. Really fight for your community. Fight for their success.
Yeah.
Don't focus on negative things, and really, really look for the positives in everything around us, and then go support them. Support every effort. I had a great conversation with one of the city officials recently that we were talking about, that rebirth and putting energy into Lewiston, and he said that the town used to be known as the city of festivals. And I guess that's an old, and I have not had the moment to go look that up.
Well, festival plot, and the fairgrounds, that is now the DMV, essentially, was a host of many festivals. That predates me too.
Well, so that's, and for me, that, I was talking earlier with you about community work and what, what's motivating me. That one is stuck in my head, and I need to spend some more time with it, and I'd like to support an idea like that. I think that's a strong rebirth idea for our community, because it does two things. We come up with slogans and marketing and stuff, and it's happening here, or it's happening now, or whatever things people.
I think it was just happening here.
Yeah, and
there's a really great queer group that has co-opted that slogan, and it's my favorite iteration of it as marketing.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's happening queer is the name of that.
Oh, perfect. And
I love it.
And so the problem with that is it does the message, but what else does it do?
Yeah, you gotta back it up. You can't just have flashy.
Right,
yeah.
and so that's what was there with that, right? That's what happened with that type of marketing for the community. Where City of Festivals, if you put on enough festivals, you now have something, right? Yeah. You have the branding, you have the name, you have an actual tangible product that gives people the excitement and the benefit and all the things that you're looking for to redevelop a community. So we had a great conversation around that, and I have not. That one has stuck in my head. That's the one that's motivating me mentally.
I'm going to talk to you in 6 months about what that led to.
And so and I was really excited to see that Lewiston kept the balloon festival going. Like, it was really exciting to me, because that's it, right? Like, that's the moment where you go, okay. Now take that and build 6 more festivals for next year, whatever they are, and just do it. But make them happen so that they're scalable over time, and you really just, Taste of Harvest coming up is another, little festival in town, right? It's really a harvest festival, right? I mean, it just has a different name.
Yep.
And
very intentionally so. We use Harvest Fest. That was here's a look behind the curtain. Yeah. Harvest Fest was the working title as we conceived it, but in Maine for a long time, Harvest Fest was specifically related to the cannabis industry before it was legal, and is like a backwoods event. And I was like, I don't think we can go public with that name. I think we have to.
Well, honestly, there's also if you just Google Harvest Fest, because I did it looking for Taste of Harvest by accident. I typed it, and I was like, oh no, it's not that. And I did this 2 days ago, and what you get is a ton of festivals throughout the state that are Harvest Fest. So, taking those, that one has a base, right? It's had a couple of years behind it. And it's
Brewfest, Greek Festival, there's so much.
Start to really put that together. And that's a great project for a good economic development team that really could take a hold of that. And even if they don't, like say they don't really do anything with Brewfest as far as
you don't have to run it.
Bring it into the fold, though. Bring it into the fold. Keep it on the list. It's another festival in town. Really work on that image as a city of festivals. I really love that idea. I hope it sticks, and I hope talking about it today makes it stick too.
Yeah, well, then I'm going to double down on that. As somebody who organizes a couple of different festivals under various names and brands here in community, what I love, so we supported the Balloon Festival this year. Becca, who's incredible, is our director of marketing, did a fair bit, almost all of the marketing for the Balloon Festival with like 7 weeks to go before the date when we did the swap off to help the city and participated in organizing. And I watched the city staff from both Auburn and Lewiston just kill it, work really, really hard. And I think that experience, and this started happening with the Holiday in the Plaza that the city of Lewiston does. But when you start organizing events and realize, as you know, permits and code and process and steps and fees and city council, and even just if there was a really clear pathway, and I know Nate and Link and others at the city are working on this, and so I'm doubling down with you, Peter, on our vision of what could be. But, I know they learned a lot by going through it.
Yeah.
Go like actually once you start organizing an event, it's so and that kind of like I can tell you what that experience is going to be like, but it's not going to mean anything until you do the things. You show up at city council and you ask for your in-kind waiver. You take the steps for trash cans, for example.
Yeah, whatever it is.
It's the little weird stuff that gets you.
Oh, but it's true. I mean, they're huge, I mean, we do events with our businesses, and it's every event is it's monumental, all the little details that have to go into it, and then you scale it for a community. I do believe that, that kind of marketing and that kind of, bringing together all the events that happen here that are cool already and then trying to bring some new ones into it could really be a strong message for this area for its rebirth.
So we do the Explore and Discover Guide and Discover LA Maine, which is a part of the marketing for the region, and in putting our content together. We have a whole 2 pages dedicated to festivals and events and kind of how to enjoy this area throughout the seasons. And it wasn't until I really sat down and did that research and did that work that it is comprehensive, and we have something going on all the time. We have a significant amount of festivals locally, and almost all of them are run by either independent people doing a thing. Like I think about the Liberty Festival. Some of them, like us, are done by organizations or businesses like Baxter, but it's a really unique thing that we have, and I'd love to see that be more
of the message.
Yeah.
Me too. Well, that was Nate that brought that up with me, and it really hit home that it was more impactful in a really great direction for our community to go. Yeah. So it takes something that we're already good at and something that was apparently incredible around this area at one point, and really, it grabs a hold of something that we already have and builds on it.
I love that. I know that we're coming to a close and we've got time for our final segment. I'm so grateful. So grateful for you. I think it's, I'm not just grateful for your time today, but I've watched you on that journey. I've benefited from the third places you've created in a community that I get to live in and call home. I was doing housing and organizing work a really long time ago, and I remember you wading into the landlord business, and if we could just, back then I would say, if we could just have more landlords who cared about the quality of the housing and invested in it, and I've seen that change, right? That's a wish happened. That
it really happened.
It's I've seen, it started with siding being updated or windows being replaced or new porches being put on, and then it's complete rehabs, and then they'll never create new housing as infill. And I remember no one's ever going to infill the downtown, Shanna. And now there's so much activity on both sides of the river.
It's awesome.
And it's for me, it's that rebirth cycle, right? Here we are on the flip side, being able to say of one thing of my economic development dream list, of which economic development takes years, sometimes decades to see realized. It takes 2-3 years to put together big financing packages, let alone actually turn the key and walk into things. And I don't know, been here doing it, making that dream every day for so long. I'm seeing it answered. And that's just, I love that. And you've been a huge part of that on a number of fronts.
Well, thanks. I mean, we're a tiny little company that does, very little in our minds. But, we hope that what little we do inspires, we only have so much time because we all work and do other things. But, and we've dabbled with the, and played with the idea of maybe doing a bigger project and doing an infill project. We actually have looked at it recently. We haven't taken a leap for it, but we spent some time learning about it and sort of taking that next step. And we might do it at some point. It isn't necessarily going to be today, but I'm glad to see other investors doing it.
Yeah.
That's all that matters to us is that we continue to see good growth and see positive growth and see the infill. I really want the communities to hold their heads high and hold a standard for their infill. I think that's one area where infill can go the wrong direction. If you don't hold some real standards in quality that you accept. Everybody's excited to have new things built, and sometimes that gets forgotten. Is that you really need to hold some level of standards for the look and the feel and the quality of what you put in your community.
Amenities.
Yeah, I mean, and you do. You do have to hold your head high and say we are worth it, and
we can have nice things.
We can have nice things here, sure. Yeah,
I love that. Some of the things that we have that are nice are ones that you've given us, and I think that's
thanks.
Yeah, and
trying.
Yeah, keep on keeping on.
My partners are good at it too. They care about it, and I think that's the other part of it is that there's a level of caring and intentional, behavior.
Yeah, when you're in this work, it can feel really lonely, and when you find other folks who share your vision and your passion and your tolerance for mess ups and screw ups and side quests, it's really magic because it can sustain you in a way that, man, you just can't sustain yourself individually doing all that, trying to see that happen. Not the scale of dreams and vision you and I dream in.
Yeah.
Right?
No, absolutely.
That's the problem.
Mine are way bigger than I'll ever realize, and I know that.
Yeah. But in a good way.
I like to hang on to them all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, keep working towards them. Mark, want to take us into our closing segment?
I do, but I just have one final question for Peter. The inspiration behind the names of your restaurants.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Well, we knew that Bon Vivant would have a French leaning, so that would be one thing. And that was, partially the food we like and partially the food that was already on the street at one point, and also partially our new partner and chef, had that leaning in his cooking.
Michael.
So we had that, and of course the community has a French leaning. So that was part of it, and we looked for something that was. We went through a million lists of words and names and things, and living well seemed like a nice thing to, and someone who lives well and enjoys fine things. There's nothing wrong with that. Our restaurant's very casual. Occasionally it's thought of as maybe a little too fancy, but it's not. And it's a casual dining facility that we hope is beautiful, and that was certainly the intention, and we never want to be an expensive place. We have to charge what we have to charge. But so the name, we worried a little, would be feel a little bit affluent. It's it's not meant to be. It's meant to just signify it's okay to want to live well. And
I like that. What about Sonder and Dram?
Sonder and Dram was Sonder is a made up word that has a meaning, and
I was like, is it? Because I used that word. Oh no!
And it is. I'm not sure what dictionaries it's in, but I
sauntered on it, and, right?
Saunter.
I think saunter.
Well, I've been doing that wrong for years. Thanks. I've learned two things today.
But it's a representation, and it means the people sort of in the periphery have a life just as important and as exciting as yours. It's that kind of meaning. So when you think about a bar, you look out a window, you see those people walk by. like that's where that, meant something to us, and we related to it, especially if you come into Sonder, you see the windows and you see the people walk by, and you see the bottom half of people because of where we are.
You see the shoes.
And it really, that resonated with me, sort of that, they have a life that's just as vibrant, and what is it, right? What is that story? So that's where that meaning came from. Dram is, of course, a measure of alcohol and drink, and so Sonder and Dram. So it's about the people having that experience and what their experiences are, and drinking.
I'm going to have to go to Down East Maine and educate all of my family, extended community members, because I'm pretty sure we've been using Sonder the way you use Sonder for a long time. That's very down east of me. Y'all saw my down east roots coming out. Yep.
That's very down
yes, you
east.
did.
That makes perfect sense. Actually.
Yeah. I sauntered on down to the general store and got my daily needs. Is like a... Yep. Jeez, Martha, Sonda over here with a drink. Like, I just... It always made sense to me, your name, and now I'm clearly wrong for that, so thanks.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it.
Fantastic. Well, the actual definition came out of a dictionary that I can't remember the name of, and I really wish I would and could, because it was some ridiculous online dictionary that was like the meaning of crazy words, basically. I really wish I could remember the name.
A dictionary of made-up words sounds like a sweet spot I should live in.
Yeah.
I think we should bring that back. Yeah,
add to it on the daily.
As soon as you figure that out, you just send me a copy, and I'll do some vocabulary enhancement as a daily exercise.
Our closing segment is called Looking Back, Leading Forward, a reflective closing where we invite our guests to share advice or insights they would give their younger self, or to those with big ambitions in business or community leadership.
Thanks for that. I feel like we've spent this whole time getting insights, and so I'm not sure if this is going to be a slam dunk for you, Peter, or a challenge. If you could offer advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh, that's easy. Save money. Yeah. No, honest to God.
You got any strategies you'd lift up? Like, is it the whole round up and put the rest in savings kind of thing?
Yeah, it's do it really young.
Yeah.
Really when you're somewhere around 20 years old, give or take, depending on what you're doing, put money away in small amounts and do it on a regular basis. It really is, something that my two children and my two stepchildren, some of them are doing now, and I'm making sure to at least give them the advice, whether they do it or not. It really solidifies your future and creates a level of comfort that I wish I had.
Yeah.
And I've managed to develop that in other ways, but so many people who go through life doing fantastic work and just aren't able to save enough really to have a real comfortable final stage, which is that retirement time.
I grew up generationally poor. Like, it was it's just the story of my family for generations, and made my focus breaking that cycle. But as a parent, and it's funny how having children really just like brings the lens into focus on some things in your life about what you want to be or what you don't want to be, or what you want for them or what you want to keep from them. My kids are thinking about growing wealth and giving them the ability to think about that and not be burdened with thinking about breaking generational poverty. It's a gift that I've been really, really proud to give them, and they're also doing savings, and it's such a great suggestion. And man, the generation coming up right now, like, that's advice they're listening to.
Oh, yeah.
They are. It's really incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it is such a gift to teach them to do this and teach them why and how. I can't imagine not.
So here's our exit question. Last one. What's one lesson or piece of wisdom that you would share with someone aiming to make an impact?
Well, one of the skills I learned a little later versus sooner was really practicing an extremely high level of acceptance. And, I think that the sooner you can get to that, the more impact you will have and the more things you will accomplish and get done, because you don't build your own walls, and and you don't break, you don't blow up your own bridges, and you start to slow down some of your thinking. And so I encourage everyone to really, really practice a high level of acceptance in everything they do and everything they think of and every person they meet. And
I love that.
I think that was a skill that I wish I had learned sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. Well done. Keep learning, right? Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for the work you're doing. And this is, really exciting that you guys have put this together. I think it's another great element for our community to talk about it and to share it, share all of it.
Yeah.
Really great communication is such a powerful tool. I think our community will continue to benefit from things like this. So
thank you
for doing all the work you're doing.
Thanks for your trust in coming in as the first one without having anything to reference or listen to. I think that's a great sign.
Well, you didn't throw me any hard balls.
No, it's not a gotcha program. I promise, folks.
Yeah. So the dictionary I remembered is the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows.
Oh, that's good.
That is the dictionary that I found the word Sonder in. The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows.
Did it have a second definition listed in it about, I don't know, meandering something?
You really need to let it go.
Okay, I'm going to let it go.
That's what I know of.
Yeah.
That's what I know
Thank
of.
you
That's
so
what I
much.
recall.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mark. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in and listening to the voices that we're interested in lifting up. And I hope you all find a way to contribute to building and leading and thriving as well. Anything you want to say in our parting words?
I'm inspired.
Me too.
This was great. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I'd do it again anytime.
I'll remember that.
Yeah. 2 weeks.
Right? I hear anniversary episode.
Yeah, no,
Month anniversary.
If you got a specific topic and you want to nail it and you can't find somebody, I'm in.
Thank you.
I think it benefits our community to have these kinds of conversations. I think even just us talking about it, just you and I doing this,
Yeah.
we take it out of here and we do something with it. Sometimes it's all.
Oh, I'm going to go off record with you, give you a couple of pokes and suggestions on some of the things you lifted up.